Hi, my name is Carina Powers, and I'm presenting to you Peter Senge's Learning Organization. This is my final paper presentation for organizational communication for business. Let's jump in. Business and human endeavors are systems. We tend to focus on snapshots of isolated parts of the system and wonder why our deepest problems never get solved. That's a powerful quote by Peter Senge himself. Do you remember a time where you came up with what seemed like a great solution to a problem, only to realize after making an investment in your solution that the problem actually worsened? You are not alone. Businesses experience this every day. But why is this happening? Today's highly competitive economies demand that companies and their stakeholders be in an endless quest for growth. In order to grow, companies must build and maintain competitive advantage in their industry. Most companies have to build fresh competitive advantages and destroy others' advantages faster than they used to. As innovation pervades the value chain, they must migrate quickly from one competitive position to another, creating new ones, depreciating old ones, and matching rivals. With so much pressure to deliver, companies are relentless in their strategies to achieve growth. According to Dianavi in his 2007 research, the process is disorderly and unstable. To achieve continuous growth, companies are persistent in making investments in new programs, strategies, human capital, and software, just to name a few. Companies tirelessly focus on their positioning via competitive advantage through strategies such as being a first mover with a new product, offering the best service, or the lowest price. Most of these strategies, however, are short-term recipes for success. They result in spikes in growth, followed by a lull, which are then followed by the next costly short-term strategy. In short, this relentless quest for growth results in companies coming up with a wide variety of solutions. The next big solution or idea is most frequently the cause of tomorrow's problems. Instead of finding a sound long-term strategy, companies too often get stuck playing a game of corporate whack-a-mole, where they are constantly putting out fires with what are almost always constantly short-term solutions. Unlike stopgap solutions, Senge's learning organization theory provides a foundation from which organizations can achieve long-lasting growth and success. I suggest that companies should approach growth from a company-wide cultural perspective, where continuous learning is the foundation of long-term success. I begin this process first with an overview of the 5 elements of Senge's framework: systems thinking, personal mastery, flexible mental models, a shared vision, and team learning. Then I conclude with an application to real-world context by exploring Toyota as an example of a company that has leveraged Senge's framework to achieve long-term success. Why is this important? Understanding the associated cost with a short-term whack-a-mole solution strategy provides a strong rationale for managers to adopt the learning strategy in their own organizations. Companies will recoup wasted time and resources and finally build a long-term, effective growth strategy. In business management, a learning organization is a company that facilitates the learning of its members and continuously transforms itself. The concept was coined through the work and research of Peter Senge in his 1990 book, The Fifth Discipline: The Art and Practice of Learning Organization. There are 5 elements, or disciplines as Peter calls them, that make up a learning organization. The first is systems thinking. In systems thinking, it's where we address and comprehend the whole and examine the interrelationships between the parts. So in the opening of this presentation, we talked about whack-a-mole, which results from addressing issues in parts instead of as a whole. That is the discipline of systems thinking, looking at things comprehensively and focusing on the interrelationships between all of the parts. The second is personal mastery, which is continually clarifying and deepening our personal vision and being aware of our strengths and weaknesses. And the third is mental models. The third discipline is about looking at deeply ingrained assumptions and generalizations that influences how and why we act the way that we do. Strength in mental models gives us the ability to reflect on and understand our actions and why we think about things the way that we do. Because as we know, everyone has different reactions to potentially the same issue or even the same thought or response to a situation or a person. The fourth discipline is building a shared vision with people so that they can excel and learn, not because they are told to, but because they want to. Without a shared vision, a vision alone is just a sentence. A shared vision is something that everyone in the organization gets behind. And the fifth and final discipline is team learning, which is a process of aligning and developing capacities of a team to create the results that the team truly desires to see. In early childhood, people are taught to break apart problems as they try to solve for them. This apparently makes complex tasks and subjects more manageable, but we pay a hidden enormous price. We can no longer see the consequences of our actions, and we lose our intrinsic sense of connection to a larger whole. That quote from Senge in his 1990 book. Senge's framework debunks the thinking that problems should be solved by tackling one part at a time. In fact, not until the illusion is destroyed can a learning organization be built. Senge defines a learning organization as organizations where people continually expand their capacity to create the results they truly desire, where new and expansive patterns of thinking are nurtured, where collective aspiration is set free, and where people are continually learning how to learn together. Senge describes an idealist organization where the entire organization is constantly moving forward through collaboration and system-wide learning. It is no longer sufficient to have one or even a few people learning on behalf of an organization. In today's highly dynamic and competitive commercial markets, stopgap solutions that are decided upon from the top are too frequently solutions that address only a part of the problem. It's just not possible anymore to figure it out from the top and have everyone else following the orders of the grand strategist. The organizations, according to Senge, that will truly excel in the future will be the organizations that discover how to tap people's commitment and capacity to learn at all levels in an organization. Senge maps out the learning organization in the 5 distinct parts that we've just gone over, all of which are a vital dimension in creating companies that continually evolve in order to achieve their goals. According to Senge's 5th discipline theory, it's important to note that the 5 disciplines have a logical relationship with one another. Now let's find out what other researchers have to say about the learning organization theory. Given that every part of the whole is important, it makes sense that personal mastery is one of the 5 disciplines, in which all members share a personal commitment to learning and self-reflection, according to Eisenberg in their 2010 research. Kodo adds that whether it is research and development, company management, or any other aspect of business, the active force is the people. In addition, people have their own will, their own mind, and their own way of thinking. Therefore, organizations as a whole can only learn through individuals who learn. When it comes to mental models, Eisenberg writes that mental models are those patterns of beliefs that shape and limit an individual's interpretations and actions. In a learning organization, members engage in self-reflection, allowing them to first understand and then to change the mental models that tend to guide their thinking. Tompkins and Cheney, in their 1985 research, discuss the shared vision principle. In learning organizations, tight hierarchical control is replaced by concretive control, whereby members act in concert because they share a common organizational vision and understand how their own work helps build on that shared vision. Instead of enforcing a vision resulting in compliance from the workforce, leadership paints a clear picture of the future of the company in order to create a genuine enrollment in a shared vision. Eisenberg also writes about team learning. Team members in a learning organization communicate in ways that lead the team toward intelligent decisions, with an emphasis on dialogue as the key team learning. Koto adds that teams can learn in sports, in the performing arts, in science, and even occasionally in business. Moreover, striking examples demonstrate the intelligence of the team exceeding the intelligence of the individuals in that team, and the team developing extraordinary capacities for coordinated action. When teams are truly learning, not only are they producing extraordinary results, but the individuals are growing more rapidly than could have occurred otherwise. Professor Linda Argote, in her research, discusses team learning as well. Team learning is critical because teams, not individuals, are the key learning unit in a company. Argote has studied the evolution of organizational learning research during her distinguished career. She has built on Senge's foundation with organizational underpinnings of the learning curve, knowledge transfer, and transactive memory systems. If companies' teams are not learning, the company is not learning. If a company is not learning, their longevity is limited. Lastly, systems thinking. Systems thinking is the integrative discipline that brings the other four together into a coherent body of theory and practice. It is the element of Senge's framework that debunks the idea that problems should be solved by solving their parts. Instead, Senge states that each part of an issue or each part in an organization has an influence on the rest, an influence that is usually hidden from view. Eisenberg adds that thus combining holism and interdependence, systems thinking claims that for any one member to succeed, all members must succeed. Although theories sound great on paper, the question of how to actually apply them tangibly in an organization remains difficult for many companies. Many have tried to become learning organizations, but according to Leiker, no one has succeeded like Toyota. In his book, The Toyota Way, Jeffrey Leiker shares his first-hand experience with Toyota. Leiker explains the 14 management principles that Toyota follows. I'm going to discuss a few tangible examples. Principle 1, base your management decisions on long-term philosophy, even at the expense of short-term financial goals. And the philosophy they follow is likened to Peter Senge's learning organization theory. In fact, the 14th and final principle is to become a learning organization through relentless reflection and continuous improvement. For Toyota, the learning organization is far more than a guiding principle. It is the principle that ties the preceding 13 principles together. It is the foundation of their corporate strategy. Leiker's story offers before and after insights regarding the benefits of Senge's principles. At the time of his hiring, the plant that he was hired onto was a new venture between Toyota and General Motors. In fact, he witnessed the transformation of a workforce from one of the worst in the General Motors system to one of the best in any manufacturing facility in the United States. Once a General Motors plant that was in near survival mode, the application of Toyota's 14 principles of organizational learning resulted in a complete transformation. Related to mental models seen prevalently in Toyota's culture are in line with those that are seen in learning organizations. It starts with the belief that every task can be performed better, less costly, better quality, quicker, etc. Mental models are things that are typically not tangible. They cannot be seen. They are felt. Principle 5 from the Toyota Way sheds light on the mental models that are present at Toyota. Build a culture of stopping to fix problems to get quality right. This hits the nail on the head. Their culture is not one that solves problems. They aim to prevent them from happening in the first place. Principle 12 also gives insights into mental models at Toyota. Go and see for yourself and thoroughly understand the situation. At Toyota, everyone is responsible. One cannot pass the buck. In order to be the best, each contributor must take ownership for their quest to personal mastery. In an idea-friendly environment, there are many discussions about which course of action to take. From this comes team learning. Of course, not every recommendation can be implemented, and this gives leaders the opportunity to share feedback explaining why decisions are made. That process creates team learning. Additionally, at Toyota, managers work with project experts such as chief engineers. Chief engineers have achieved personal mastery in their expertise and are involved in the decision-making process in projects. Therefore, a manager is not the sole decision maker, and experts are sought out to guide the process. This enables experts to have power in the direction the company takes while still being able to keep their job in the field. With experts in every area, team learning is prevalent. One of Senge's teachings about systems thinking is that today's solutions often become tomorrow's problems. Toyota agrees and crafted Principle 13. Make decisions slowly by consensus, thoroughly considering all options, and then implement rapidly. The key word here is consensus. If there were an issue in the paint section of the manufacturing process, for example, the paint manager could surely solve that issue quickly and move on. However, without involving managers from all other parts of the line, there would likely be unintended consequences. For example, if the new paint that was selected had a different reaction with the metal that is used to create the body, the new paint process that was selected would be a bigger issue than before. It is through consensus, or systems thinking, that Toyota solves their problems, resulting in efficiencies from lean management. In an ever-competitive world, companies are constantly seeking ways to maintain competitive advantage. As a result, they often look to new tools that they hope will solve existing problems or prevent future problems. Sometimes new implementations can even seem like the silver bullet that will launch them into success. That said, even the companies who invest relentlessly in pursuit of staying ahead of the curve often fail. According to Senge, this is because most companies are unknowingly trying to solve small pieces of problems when they should be looking at their organization as a whole. In order to do so, they must approach their company as a complete system instead of in parts. In this paper, I have discussed Peter Senge's 1990 learning organization management theory as a strategy to manage companies as a whole. The 5 elements of Senge's framework are systems thinking, personal mastery, flexible mental models, a shared vision, and team learning. Unlike short-term solutions, learning organization theory provides a solid foundation from which organizations can achieve long-term success, and many other researchers agree and have contributed to this body of research. Toyota is a great example of a company that has leveraged Senge's framework to achieve long-lasting success. When Toyota entered into the joint venture at the NUMMI plant with General Motors, the plant was known for sex, drugs, and the more issues with cars than any other U.S. plant. After applying their learning organization principles, General Motors and Toyota manufactured 6,000 cars per week, with one of the highest plant quality ratings in the U.S. Toyota's impact on the GM plant demonstrates how the learning organization methodology can transform a dysfunctional organization into a highly effective and efficient operation. General Motors' inefficiencies were a result of looking at the organization in parts and thus trying to solve problems related to parts. On the contrary, Toyota is consciously aware of the whole. Senge's framework offers true opportunity for companies who are used to playing the whack-a-mole game. In closing, I'd like to end with a quote from Jeffrey Liker. The use of a good process that engages people is much more desirable, even if it does not initially achieve all of the results. The goal is to find something that works in the long term and that considers the whole and enables everyone in the organization to learn over time, resulting in continuous transformation for the entire company. Thank you.